June 4th, 2014. The overlay shows the approximate size of the Earth compared to the Sun, guys, just to remind you of what the amount of energy is that we're dealing with here. But this filament we've been watching since Saturday finally collapsed and caused a Hyder flare. We talked about that, Hyder, if you want to look that up. But there was a magnetic loop, and it looped over the top, and if you notice, it contacted the Sun, and that was enough for the gravity of the Sun to grab this thing and pull it back in. Again, see that thin loop right there? It connected all the way around. That was all it took. Now, this is also Earth-facing from the SDO cameras. Combination of 3 different lenses to give you this perspective of it. And you see it there, and then it'll spread. Again, this was a parallel channel. In other words, some Hyder flares can go either side or one side. This one went both ways. And let's look at the stereo behind satellite. Completely different image. In the last image here in the MPEG movie, you can see just the start of a flare. Now, but we're going to go and look at the last still image before I finish this video. I want to go and look at some of the weather information, the tropical information on this video. But remember this, stereo behind is behind Earth. This is going to the right is Earth facing. It looks like a downward shot to our side of the solar system. Again, let's go back, look at the SDO Earth-facing images, SOHO Earth-facing images for the last couple of days. You'll see the flare from yesterday come out there. Now, you'll just see it start to light up in the left as this flare starts. Now, again, we're going to go back and check that, and what happens is you get the still images in before you get the MPEG movie. But look at the image from the GOES 15. Check that out. That's a large amount of energy that came off the side of the Sun. And you're gonna see that push outward. Now, the Sun does affect the weather, and we're looking at a lot of different things, but the compression of the atmosphere was talked about yesterday, increasing the wind speeds, and we saw 100-mile-an-hour plus. We talked about that. Now, that storm does not seem as strong today as it did yesterday, but as I'm doing the video, it's 2:42 Central, so we're still in the heat of the day. But we do have 2 outflow boundaries that look like there's some strong wind there, so be careful, guys, in northern Alabama and Georgia, and I'll show you a couple of different images. You can also see those outflows right there. You usually don't see 2 like that on the same image. Check that out. But these images, guys, the way it's coming in, that's a lot of speed that's coming into northwest Georgia and into Alabama. So it's dropping fast. The straight line winds, remember, are one of the things they're concerned about. Again, different image. And you notice that boundary as it's coming to Georgia seems to be slowing, but behind it, that's a very fast front. So, may not be a lot of rain involved in that particular system, but here's your streamlined pattern. Now, we're hoping that some moisture gets picked up and pulled into Texas. Notice that in the very tip of Texas, as it comes into Oklahoma, there is some moisture in that storm and behind it. But what they're saying now about the tropical system in the Gulf is that it's going to pull into Mexico. As it pulls up, we were hoping that as the jet streams in the northern Gulf would pull it into Texas, but it looks like, according to the predictions, and we'll see if that holds up, that Mexico's going to get the brunt of this moisture. Still hope and pray for some guys there in Texas and in that area. Let's look at the overall view. Very dry in this section of the country. You see that one stream of thunderstorms coming through. That's north tip of Texas. I guess that's just north of Amarillo, guys. Also in the Gulf, this system went from a 10% to a 20% chance of development. It's breaking apart. We're back into the heat of the day. Again, they're forecasting this to come up and curve. Again, now 20% chance. It says the low pressure centered over the southern bay of Campeche is producing disorganized showers and thunderstorms over a large portion of the southwestern Gulf. Now they've got that again up to, it says formation chance through 48 hours low, 20% through 5 days, still at 20%. But I'll show you another map that's got the tracking path of the storm. And This is what's called the wide view of the Atlantic from NOAA. You can see the yellow line there where it's developing and going to pull into Mexico. That's a prediction. They're usually pretty close on it. But notice that throughout the bay and coming off the Yucatan, that area of showers is splitting. So we're going to have to watch it. Notice how clear it is in the hurricane path that comes over the Antilles into the Mediterranean. Now we're going to go to the last few frames over Africa. This is from Meteosat. And you'll see, I'll stop it. Right there, that's the last frame coming in there. And there's two storms that have pulled off kind of the southern tip of this section of Africa. You can see the islands off there. So we're watching it. There, that's where usually where the storms will come from a little further in the season. We'll start to see them build up over Africa. Again, June is when we see the Caribbean and the Gulf development. But we're going to keep an eye on the whole thing. Now let's go back to stereo behind. You can see the difference in the expansion of that flare. So you can see that even though on the SDO as it collapsed, you didn't see that outward burst. It's there. Look at the MLSO coronagraph. Also, you can see that energy coming off the left, right where it collapsed back in. Again, it's a good thing it did it now because it puts it to the left and down. We will see some energy from this. What will tell us is in about an hour some of these satellite images, and we'll see if we see any uptick on the ACE satellites as far as our protons and electrons. If we do, we've already got pressure on the Denali Fault in Alaska that leads down to Yellowstone, guys. So heads up, we're going to watch it. Be safe. Again, Block Talk show in about 3 hours, 6 p.m. Central. I'll put up a link to it with the call-in number, guys. See you then.